line with Connor and Ratty, and Connor was saying it'd be nice, you're the coach, but it'd be nice to have one line that sticks together the whole way, whereas there's pairs that play in the NHL. You build layers and you do those other things.
The coach would like that too, to be honest with you, but usually the players decide when it's time to mix the lines up based on the type of player, the type of energy we have on our team, and that those three have played together now for a month and a half last year and into training camp, and we'd like to keep them together. We think they're a good combination, and they had a hell of a night tonight. And in all fairness to Winnipeg, and it'll happen to us on Sunday, that the type of team that we field on the road and at home is sometimes a little bit different. When we get to Winnipeg on Sunday, we'll see Scheifele and Wheeler and Bufflin, and they're top-end guys, and we'll have our hands full. But you have to take advantage of those situations. Ratty, Nuge, Connor took advantage of it tonight.
Todd, you've tried a number of players in that spot, and some have worked better than others. What are you seeing in the way Ty's handling himself when he plays with those two that is working and that's putting him in the spots where he's able to cash in like he is?
Well, he's a gifted offensive player that maybe hasn't either earned or received the opportunity to play with those type of players. It's hard to break into the league into the top six. You're a young player coming out of junior and you're an offensive guy. You happen to enter the league on a third or fourth line and maybe you're not used properly. He struck it rich last year getting the opportunity, and now he's taking advantage of it. What does he do on the line? He arrives on time. I don't know how to explain it other than that. The last goal, he hit the hole on time. He wasn't too early, he wasn't too late. He's prepared to shoot it. There's a lot of good work on the boards now. He's getting better in that area. He can sustain his shift length longer. He's in better shape. So there's a lot of positives for him and that line going forward.
You guys are off tomorrow, then you're, you might call this the halfway mark of your training camp. Can you do a halfway through this evaluation on big picture, everything in general?
Yeah, and it's, Jonesy, it's hard and it's dangerous sometimes because of the different levels of competition. I would, just solely evaluate our team on concepts, on work, on commitment level, the casualness versus seriousness. I've liked the first week. We deserve a day off tomorrow. And, everybody from our elite leader all the way down the roster, they did their homework in the summer and they've done their homework so far in training camp. That moving forward doesn't guarantee us wins or anything like that. But the opposite would probably guarantee us losses. And 7 days in or whatever it might be, check mark for work and everything we needed to do. Now we got to make it better as we go forward. So I tried to answer your question. I think it's a dangerous question to answer right now.
Todd, a two-part question coming up here. There's a lot of talk about the first line, rightfully so, but also Evan Bouchard got his first home action, played almost 23 minutes. What did you see from Evan? And two, how much growth have you seen since day one of training camp?
Well, growth in him comes from graduating up against better and better opponents. And, again, that will happen in Winnipeg. And as teams begin their releasing of players, the rosters get tougher, and pretty soon we're facing NHL caliber teams right through the lineup. Growth for him also shows up in grasping concepts, feeling like he fits in with his teammates, getting comfortable with his coaches and the surroundings, and he's done those things. His play, puck on his tape and the poise to make passes is elite. We know that. And he's already ahead of some people in that area. What do we need to watch? We need to see how well he can defend, how the pace of the game affects him. And so far, he would be in that passing grade group.
Todd, you gave Ryan McLeod a taste with a couple of more veteran players than he had been playing with. What did you see from him tonight, and do you envision giving him another game?
Yeah, he's, it's hard to play 3 games in 4 nights in any league. But when you're hauling around some big players, Adam Lowry and those type of players, it can become taxing. if anybody needs a rest, it's probably him. A couple other forwards that have played a lot. I'm sure he'll use his time tomorrow wisely and get that rest. Wasn't as dynamic or as effective as he was in other games, but sometimes other players take over, and we had some pretty good players in the lineup tonight. So you can lose them sometimes in that type of game. But he's so attentive. He's a good student. I don't think he needs to be in the classroom very long to pick up a concept. He's going to get better quickly, and that's a good thing.
And sorry, do you envision him playing Sunday then?
I'm sorry?
Do you envision him playing Sunday?
I don't know yet. He's 3 games in. We've got to get a lot of guys some playing time. So he may be, he may not be. We haven't even thought of that lineup yet.
Further to that question I asked earlier, obviously you haven't really played a reasonable facsimile of an NHL club yet, but you can only play who you play.
Yep.
And going into camp, there's a lot of talk about those that right winger thing. You've got 3 kids here who've put up some pretty good numbers and look pretty impressive to the naked eye. Can you evaluate that part of it? And anything on the defensive side, including goaltender, you want to talk about?
Well, the right winger side, it's obvious that I've challenged that group, and each of them have now stepped up, and they're making our jobs difficult, and they're providing themselves ammunition for playing time and spots in the roster. So they've done a really good job. On the back end, there's still a clump of players there, a large group of players that we're going to end up picking now that Darnell's back 6, 7, and 8 from. And they need to play more. A guy like Gravel, Garrison, these players have only played 1 game. They need to play more before we can start to slot them where we think they belong and how they can affect the outcome of our team.
It's only preseason, but how good is it for Lucic's mental well-being to kick one in? And do you see anything in him so far that suggests that this year Cal will be his?
For Luch, that was a big goal, in my opinion, because he had a lot of those opportunities last year where it just deflected off his tape and ended up, in the stands or wherever. That was a firm nose over the puck goal. That was a confident goal on the power play. And it doesn't matter who you score him against. You still have to put it in. So it was nice to see him do that. He played sick tonight. I didn't know he was sick. Didn't tell anybody. We got going, and before you know it, I found out he wasn't feeling real good. So I wasn't sure how much to play him. But we kept playing him, and that's the type of guy he is. So he played a pretty honorable game for not feeling well.
You said something to Luch at the bench right after he got back there. Share that with us.
Yeah, it was just I tapped him on the back, and very well done. And I said that's a good sign for those type of goals to go in for you. It doesn't matter where or when, but for those goals to go in. He scored 12 power play goals in the year prior, or in that range. I'm not exactly sure my number, but in that range. And a lot of them were that type in the paint, using his mass and his size and real good hands. Last year didn't go so well for him. So to get that type of goal is important for him, as was Cam's save in Vancouver. That's a big save for him. That gives him confidence. It makes him feel good.
To what I was going at again, is it safe to assume you're going to be taking those defensemen that you were speaking of to Winnipeg for that next game?
I'm sorry, Jonesy, taking?
The defensemen that you were talking about, Garrison and those guys, to Winnipeg for...
Again, we don't have our lineup set, but we will, for a lot of the D-men that have only played 1 night, they're going to get night number 2 in Winnipeg, and that's a great... it's a hard environment to play in. They've got a tremendous team. They play with pace and energy in their building, and they're going to have, I think they're going to have a lot of their stars in the lineup. So there's no better test than that. And if they can, play well and execute in that building in those environments, that could be the separating game.